Hello, my name is Frank Moss, and today I'm here to talk about my computer science project for COT 6931, my exam builder project. I will discuss the background of the project, the objectives of the project, the purpose and importance of the project, accomplishments, and close with a discussion of all the accomplished changes. Exam Builder was a web project created in 2004 as a Java Server Faces project. The project was originally designed to create, edit, and print exams for in-class testing. Questions are stored in a database for selection by administrators. Admins pick from a pool of questions to create an exam. The program allows for the selection of specific questions, setting their order, and saving the created exam as a template. When a question is fielded, metric data is collected to assess its difficulty. This difficulty is stored within the project or in the database to help administrators determine whether a question needs refinement, if it is too hard, or if it is too easy. The project was running on Java 6. Upgrading the Java framework will bring improvements to the system as well as set it up for future development. The printed exams were very poorly formatted and required a lot of manual work to fix prior to printing. The customer supplied a set of formatting instructions for the exams that were implemented to make printing of the exams immediately usable or only requiring minor formatting. Search functions were missing required checks to ensure and/or logic was being used. There were also some ambiguous search functions that were changed to be clearer for the user. The web view is very dated, and there were several pages with unclear functionality, as well as some areas that did not operate at all. These were improved for readability, usability, and customer satisfaction. The site builds the exams for all the customer testing centers throughout the state of Florida. Maintaining this system is imperative to their continued operation. Making the changes described will improve customer satisfaction with the site, as well as make a strong case for retention of our services in the maintenance phase. The upgrades described will also cut down on issues related to the site that cost man-hours in maintenance. Overall, there were 1,600 lines of code added and 2,800 lines of code deleted in 31 different files. Many of the edits were improvements of functions in Java, as well as rewriting code in more current formats for efficiency. The Java migration went well, with most of the changes coming from collections updates. This allowed for adding of updated jars for working with Excel and Word documents, as well as sets the project up for Java 8 migration when we're ready to do server upgrades and upgrade all of our projects to Java 8. The login system had no validation messages, or there was no messages to show if it was left blank. There's nothing to tell the user that something went wrong. So although the login system worked, there was no validation for the user, so it was confusing. So these messages here on the screen were added. If the password was blank, there was a message for that, and if a password or username was invalid, there was a message for that. There was a processing dialog, as you can see here circled in red. It was a very small little dialog stuck in a panel that would kind of look like it was spinning. It was not very blatant that the program was doing something in the background, like a search or a download. So a new processing dialog pop-up was added to alert the user of a process happening, and it easily let them know it was finished by going away. On the Create Edit Exam Items page. So as you can see here, represented by the two red arrows, two boxes had no labels to tell you what they were. And in the first box, there was a none and an all functionality, which did the same in the drop boxes. Now, exam ID was actually item number in the database, exam item number, and item on a results table. So exam ID was actually a separate field and had different data for it. There was no code logic for this search, the all search. It caused the site to crash. You get an error and the user would have to log in again to get back to the search functionality. This was rewritten to return the all area and any status search. So I added the labels here to exam area and module and changed the name to exam item number. I disabled the module selection if all exam area was selected. This stopped the errors with that all search. The none functionality that they had implemented here was to actually clear the search because they had a lot of caching issues with the site. If they went to a different page and came back to this page, the previous search was still on the screen, so there was nothing clearing it. So I wrote functionality to clear the page when they moved to another page and came back to it. So the none drop down was no longer needed, so I removed that. Once you get into an edited item, we have several issues going on in here. The return email address, according to the customer, this functionality never worked. As you can see there's a make exam item spreadsheet button. So what was supposed to happen was the user would click make exam item spreadsheet and they would have an email address entered and an email would be sent to the user that the exam item spreadsheet was available for retrieval from an FTP system that the user would have to go and log into. But I don't know how it worked in 2004, but as it works now, it's automatically, like within seconds, deposited on the FTP system. So it doesn't take very long. What I did was removed those items, the return email address and the text input box, and I made the exam item spreadsheet available for download rather than deposit on the FTP box. Also, there's an English and Spanish toggle button next to the exam item spreadsheet. The current functionality in the system was that didn't change what spreadsheet you got, which didn't make much sense because if you toggled it to Spanish, you would think you would get a Spanish sheet. So I wrote the functionality to bring back Spanish when Spanish is selected and English when English is selected. Okay, the customer also requested the ability to edit additional columns from the data table. So when you do a search on the exam item page, a data table with your search results comes back, and initially there was only one item editable from that table, the difficulty. The customer asked that I open up several of the other ones, as you can see circled there in green. And I tested these. They do save to the database, and you can do multiple rows at once and save to the database, so that's good, and that's what the customer was asking for. So an exam item could be downloaded as an RTF file, but as you can see there circled in red, it would download as reports, so not really a name to it and no file extension. So you would have to search, you would have to open this in the system, you would have to search for Microsoft Word to open that. And then, like I said earlier, the format was very messed up. The users would have to edit it quite a bit before they could actually print it off and use it. And that in turn brings me to the item there with the red circle around exam item as PDF. This link was actually disabled in the system because it wasn't being used, because if the exam format is messed up, you don't want to download a messed up PDF format. So I rewrote the exam item into a Word document using Apache POI. It becomes a download. It will require 0 to minimal formatting by the user, and they can save it as a PDF. So effectively covers both of those items, and I could remove the exam item as PDF link. On the edit exam items, when you actually go into edit one as a single selection, the customer asked if it would be possible to put in a text editor box because they wanted to bold a few things or italics or underline things. So I looked up the functionality and I did implement it, but it turned out it was saving HTML tags into the database, and then when you retrieved them, It was also putting them on the Excel and the Word output reports and putting it, as you can see here, circled in red and putting it in as the question. So it became apparent that it would take a lot more effort than what was initially estimated, and it was discussed with the customer about this and discussed with the project manager, and the decision was made to remove this requirement and reassess it at a later date if it's actually required. Now onto the Create Edit Exams page, which, to clarify, an exam is a full exam, and an exam item is just like one question in an exam. So this is the full exam. So on this page, once again, it had a none that was to clear the screen because caching issues. So I removed the none so that it, once again, when you navigated to another page, it would clear the search results. There was OR functionality here that wasn't really an OR. It was more like an and then there was flawed logic. You know, using it as an OR, you got back things you shouldn't have gotten back. Once inside an individual exam, we had the same issues with the return email address that didn't work, and the English-Spanish drop-down didn't change how you got your results back on an exam item spreadsheet. Exam as PDF was disabled, and the exam as RTF had the same issue. So once again, I turned it into a Word document and fixed the exam item spreadsheet English-Spanish downloads. All right, on to Exam Builder metrics. So the Exam Builder metrics once again had a none button to clear the table. So I removed the none button and fixed the caching issues. I put a reset button on if they really wanted to clear that table out while they were still on the page, but if they navigated to another page and came back, they would get a new search starting over again. These buttons here at the bottom, Get Metrics and Test Analysis, these were Excel documents that were FTP deposits, which actually they were CSV documents deposited on the FTP. But the buttons were available at all times, so if you clicked them, they wouldn't do anything, but there was no alert to the user that they had done nothing or clicked and done something. And like I said, the return email address here doesn't work either, so there was no email to them to tell them, hey, you have a report available. So I disabled those buttons when there's no search results and also when there's no item selected. So basically the user would do a search and the table would populate. They would have to click on one, only one is selectable, and then the Get Metrics and Test Analysis buttons would enable. As you can see here, it's just a picture proving that once they clicked one, they got a download of either one in an Excel format. So in conclusion, these changes will improve the functionality of the site, customer satisfaction, and reduce some of the maintenance. I've attached here my contact info should you have any questions. Thank you and have a nice day.